everyone. Welcome to the Light Game. We're so happy to be here tonight. We have a wonderful guest for you tonight. We are coming to you live from New Orleans, Louisiana, at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 FM. We are so happy to see you. We are on Roku, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube, and many, many other platforms. Our Roku is awesome, and we hope that you all having a good night. And we know we have to describe to you a lot. And take it away, Preston.
Thanks, Dolly. I'm excited. I think we're at episode 18 now, if I am correct. So we're finally getting our legs with this thing. We'll see. We had kind of a rough technical difficulties last week, but even so, we got a really good response from our guest, Raphael Lugo. We will be bringing him back. I believe we've already scheduled him, haven't we, Dolly?
Yes, we sure have. Awesome. September. No, the first week in November. I'm sorry. We were all booked up till then. So
very cool. Well, let's just say hi to our wonderful people in chat, because I'm so happy to see all of you here. Hi, hey baby, it's me. Awesome to see you here. Scuba Maru, you know I love you. Michael Kennedy, what would I do without you? I would probably shrivel up and go under a rock. So thank you for being here. Hi, Doxy, you are terrific. Which brings me to a super cool announcement, actually, which I did say on Facebook, but now that I have 1 million views on YouTube, I am eligible for super chats. I know there's been a few of you out there who are saying, oh, go on Patreon, get a donation button, which I haven't done. But now, if you want to help support the show, which does cost us to get on Roku and a few other things, you can do it now through Super Chat, and we would certainly appreciate it. So a huge shout out to Doxy for being the first tonight to give a Super Chat donation. So appreciate it, more than you know. So thank you, Doxy. I'm pretty excited about the whole Super Chat thing. And who else do we have going on in here today? Lots of familiar faces. Girl in the Desert, hello. And here is Fun Talks TV. Yes, let's hope there is no difficulties this time. I hope you're doing well in Poland and the weather is really nice there.
Yep, dzień dobry, jak się masz?
I love that we can reach out all over the world.
Yes.
I mean, I've interviewed people in Finland and Australia, and I know I had friends in Ukraine who wanted my books, and I sent them to them with signatures. So it's awesome that we are reaching so many people. And hello to Raul Melendez. Took Dolly's advice. Yay, that's awesome. And who else do we have here?
You're doing good, Raul. I'm happy for you. So happy.
Brad Peanut. Hello. And Dana Matthews. We got to meet virtually, face-to-face, I think. Just yesterday, was it, Dolly?
Yesterday, yeah.
It was very cool when we did a presentation on Dolly's experiences. And hi, Chris. Nice to see you here. Louise, greetings, Earthlings, from New Jersey, the Garden State. Very cool. Janice Connett, thank you for joining us. So happy to be among our wonderful chat friends. Yeah, we do have fun here, don't we?
Yeah.
Who else? Chris, Space Teen. Thank you. Yeah, that was, let's see, Monday was rough at work, but your Monday show makes it all better. Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. Monday is a hard day after the long weekend. And let's see, who else do we have here? Tools. Hope everybody's week is off to a great start. I hope so too. Susan, future guest. So she's going to be appearing on our show. She's, of course, in my book, Humanoids and High Strangers. Shameless plug. Sorry, couldn't help it. And who else do we have here? Christopher Harmon. This will be great. He is a great friend of mine. Aage, did you hear that? I know you can hear us. We'll bring you in shortly after I read your amazing bio. And who else do we have here? Let me see. Of course, Gray Troll. Hello. Hope you are doing well. And else we have Real Badger, who somehow has this secret way of making it first under my YouTube episodes. I don't know how you do
No, you beat me every
that. That's awesome. You always make me smile when I see you there. Real Badger. Okay, Mary. Hi, Mary. Yay. Awesome. And let's see. CT Guitar Guy. Yes. Also a familiar face. Always awesome to see you here. Charlene Cole. Can't wait for the guest. Well, we will bring him on very shortly. And I've got some very nice things to say about him, especially after reading his bio. But we will get to that in just a minute. The Mookie. Hey, I want to see a UFO. How can I reach them? So we will get into that. I'll put a little star on there so we can get back to that and ask that question. Let's see. Who else do we got? Chewy. Hello, Chewy. Always nice to see you here. And here's Allison. Hi from Florida. Glad you're back on the show. Oh gosh,
Please take
Florida.
care of yourself. I've got a daughter in Florida and a whole bunch of cousins. Please be careful. Be ready.
Yeah, there's a hurricane heading that way, or what looks like one. Oh, Dana, I love you so much. Thank you for the super chat. That is awesome. Wow, I am just humbled. Thank you very, very much. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool. We haven't even started our darn show yet. And hello to Libby. Oh, the Redwoods. Oh my gosh. I've been there so many times. It's got to be one of the most beautiful places on earth. Have you ever been to the Redwoods, Dolly?
No, flown over them, but not been to them.
Flown over them in a UFO, probably. Okay. Who else do we have here? Kason Lee. Thank you for joining us. Oh, Janice. Oh my goodness. That is the nicest thing ever. That's a really huge super chat. Blessings. I'm sending you all my love. That is so very cool of you. Wow. Thank you so much, guys. That is just amazing. Let's see, who else do we have here? Grandmaster UV. Or no, the Mookie. Sorry.
Yeah. Zach. See Zach? Hi, Zach.
Hold on, I'm getting there. I wanted to say Grandmaster UV. Hey. And Zach says, hello, Doxy. And here's a hello from Animal Bob. Hello, Animal Bob. All right. Looks like we got a nice crowd in here tonight.
And don't forget Allison Carr.
I didn't. She's from Florida, right?
Right. Oh, okay. I thought I saw it again. Two things.
And Deanna from Arizona. Also very beautiful. We haven't talked in a while, Deanna. I still have that painting hanging up on the wall that you made. You are one of the most talented artists I've ever seen. So, oh yeah, Allison says the hurricane will most likely be a big one. Yeah. We're praying for you. We definitely are praying for you, Allison. Oh, thank you, Terry D, for the super chat. You guys, that is so awesome and nice of you. I truly, truly do appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
And Rad Peanut, you too. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, we are in touch with you, Rad Peanut. So anytime you want to reach out, please do. Yes. Okay, I think that's just about all the people I can catch up with in chat so far. Hi from Canada. Yay, Canada. That's where this show is actually being produced from.
Exactly.
Am I right about that? Let's see. Is there anyone else here that I missed? Ah, yes. Lynn Smith. Hello, Lynn. And I hope you're having a good evening, but let's just get started because we're already, goodness gracious, 10 minutes in, and I am just saying our hellos. But yeah, I am so excited about our guest. Aage is someone that we've talked with for quite a while. He has his own podcast, Broadcast Team Alpha, which he's been gracious enough to have me and Dolly on as a guest more than once. So we know him pretty well. And he is our guest tonight. And he has an amazing resume. He's an experiencer, a researcher, an author, and a podcaster. He was actually born on a farm in Norway and managed the farm for years. And after attending and graduating from agricultural college, he continued to manage the farm as an adult. But even as a young teenager, he was very interested in the paranormal and actually learned hypnosis from a magician in Europe. I want to hear about that, Aage. That sounds really fascinating. As a young man, he spent 1 year in mandatory military service, actually driving a battle tank in Norway. Yes, I believe in Europe, a lot of the European countries, they basically mandate that you join the military. They don't do that here in the US, at least not yet. Oops.
My brother was a tank commander in the military here. Yep.
All right, let's see. Leaving the military, he began to pursue all forms of knowledge. And by age 25, you're going to love this, Dolly, he learned several languages.
Oh my gosh.
I can pretend to speak French, but that's it.
You do really well in French. Yeah. Okay.
I took it for 6 years. I should. 8 years. And after, okay, I'm getting distracted. Okay, by age 25, he learned several languages, studied numerous scientific disciplines, as well as metaphysics and different schools of spirituality, then left Norway and came to the USA, where he graduated from flight school at Emory School of Aviation in Greeley, Colorado, and really excelled with this, getting his pilot license with full certification, including commercial pilot and instrument rating and flight instructor. So he worked at many flight schools when he, along with a partner, actually founded Arrowhead Airways, which became a very successful flight school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And after a long career in aviation, he continued to pursue his interests in the paranormal and hypnosis and mind development, and really excelled with that as well. He has taught classes in speed reading, creative visualizations for healing and manifestation, creative goal setting, and much more. These are topics I love. I really enjoy when people are ambitious and seize their power, know that they actually can do these things. He created the, quote, Freedom Civil Rights Investigation Service, helping many people with legal problems, and actually published, edited, and wrote for the Constitutional Liberator, a monthly newsletter covering controversial issues of all kinds, such as medical cures that have been banned and other controversial topics that the mainstream media either lies about or refuses to touch. So he quickly moved into radio and TV. Wow, Aage, such an amazing resume. Hosting a holistic healthcare call-in radio show in Tucson, Arizona, and a host and producer of The Hidden Truth, which featured UFOs, the paranormal, conspiracies, and more. So numerous other shows followed, including Access News, the Universal Consciousness Show, and currently with his partner Nori Love, Broadcast Team Alpha, which is a current show doing quite well. And with his partner Nori, they have created a mastermind for meditation and manifestation of the future we like to see, instead of when others create everything for us. So taking control of your own destiny. That's awesome. He has participated in numerous television documentaries. And with Patricia Ross, he co-wrote the book Alien Encounters in the Midwest. We'll definitely be talking about that. And he's also the author of the very well-received books, Spiritual Science, Higher Consciousness Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. Okay, How to Access the Universal Consciousness. There we go. And the book, Universal Success Principles and How Billionaires Think, and so much more. So yeah, wow, Aage, that's quite a resume. Let us bring you on and begin to talk. Hi, Aage.
Hey, Drew.
Hello.
are you
Very cool.
doing?
Here we are.
All right, let me just give a shout out to Chewy for the wonderful chat or super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And Raul Melendez, thank you guys so much. Very, very nice of you. And yeah, Augie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, this is going to be so fun.
I know I'm excited. Okay, so I want to get you started. You're an experiencer, yes?
I love reminiscing with like-minded people. There's so much that can come out, and sometimes shows they take on a life of their own and heading off a direction where we never even thought of it, and
Exactly.
it becomes even better.
Yeah. You never know. I grew up on a farm. I lived first on my grandparents' farm in Wisconsin. It was a dairy farm, and then a farm in Miami in the Everglades. And I worked hard, so I understand that you really worked hard. You were outside a lot. When was your first experience? How did that happen? I'm dying to know.
Me too.
Oh, that was first what I would call back then a paranormal experience was probably seeing something flying through the sky that really shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Because it had no wings and no engines. So it should really fall down, but it didn't. And I started wondering about that. And there was a friend of mine in the neighborhood, Steinar. And he has moved to Sweden now, so he's become a Swede. That means that he's alienated himself from Norway. But no, we talked about UFOs quite a bit, and I learned, he's read more about it at that time than I did, and we were discussing it, and I started thinking about that, and I started looking into more, and I found some newspaper articles actually in regular newspaper where they talked about that the Nazi Germans had actually built aircraft that had no wings and no engines, but they were round. And this didn't make sense. So I thought, maybe those are the ones in the sky. And,
so the one that you saw, I mean, just to backtrack a little bit, because you kind of skimmed over it. How old were you when you saw that UFO?
I started probably looking at this when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, maybe 12, because I built that UFO detector when I was probably around 12. I'll send you a picture of that.
Ah, yeah, I'll bring that up. So did you actually see a UFO at that age?
Yeah, what happens actually is that I built that UFO detector because I figured that if it's an electromagnetic device that makes them fly like that, flying through the Earth magnetic field, it should create ripples in the Earth magnetic field.
Right.
So I thought, maybe that could affect the compass needle. So I built the UFO detector around a compass needle. So if there were ripples in the Earth magnetic field, it would make the compass needle turn. So the needle would touch a wire and will set off an electric circuit through a battery. And yeah, there you go. And well, since you have it there, we might as well talk about it. Hey folks, this is how you can build yourself a UFO detector that I made it work. And it'll probably cost you several years ago. I found parts and I tried to add up how much it would cost, and I think I came to about $20. But maybe you shouldn't cheap it out like I did. Maybe just get good parts for it. I had a battery, which of course, in order to create an electric circuit, you gotta have one. And I ran that through a breaker switch down at the bottom here. And then I wired from the breaker switch all the way into a buzzer or a bell and come out of the bell into the casing of a brass compass is what I was using. You can use pretty much any metal except for aluminum. That doesn't transfer electricity all that well. But if you find a brass, you can get them I don't know, $5 to $10, maybe something like that. And into the casing of that uh, compass casing. And then I split the wire on the other end so that it looked like this, and I placed that on each side of the compass needle. So now if the compass needle, it would touch the wire, and then it would set off the circuit, because the compass needle was resting on a needle, a metal needle that was attached to the casing. So it would be a complete circuit.
Okay.
And then I would turn the switch on down at the bottom there. And of course, just leave it on my windowsill in my bedroom. And I heard that thing go off, the bell go off 3 times. One time I went outside and I didn't see a thing. But 2 other times I did see something. So one time that was a bright light, kind of like, I don't know if it was more like it was a triangle, but not a true triangle, more long than it was probably butted at the end. So it was kind of sharp, and then maybe not so sharp at the other end. And then there was another one, there was a light that was going through, but they were slow. They were just going really slow. And this was probably around when I was 12 or 13 years old.
Amazing.
And then again, I was going to school and stuff. I had to finish my indoctrination. So my mom told me several times that bell up in your bedroom went off again. What is that thing? And I tried to explain it, and that didn't go over with her, so she just didn't get it. But she told me several times that the bell went off. So
Did it go off when jets were going over you as well?
say that again?
Did it go off also when you saw observational jets go over you? Like military, never went off.
No.
Okay.
No, regular airplanes did not set it off.
Okay.
But this is, and of course, UFOs, or whatever you would call them these days. I guess they got it renamed now to be different. But those things, they can have different types of propulsion systems. If it is anything that relates to electromagnetic, either levitation or propulsion, that thing will work.
Okay.
But if it is flown by consciousness or crystal technology, chances are it will not.
Okay.
All right. Aage, we're getting a few comments that your sound is a little bit low. Is your microphone turned on all the way?
Yeah, it's all the way up.
All right, just want to check because it sounds a little muffled and we're getting a little bit of background noise, but.
Oh, okay.
So
Preston, if you're moving around, we're hearing you.
No, it's not me.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I can try to speak a little louder if it works.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, that's fine, but we'll just have to deal with it.
So you can hear me okay, though, can't you?
I can hear you just fine. No problem.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of interference, but
Yeah.
we'll deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
I find that device very interesting. I know that ET craft fly with electromagnetic energy that is in the form of a graviton wave. And they have emitters, and it's from their power source is nuclear, and they're burning an element to create an electromagnetic wave that's so powerful it has gravity attached to it. They combine, and it becomes a graviton wave. And when their emitters are working, they emit electromagnetic pulses. Down here, you would call it NEP, NEMPs because it's nuclear driven, okay? And non-militaristic would be NNEMPs, okay? But they do have a spectrum because it's very high. When they're outside our atmosphere, they're on full power. So when you see the spike of it, it would be very high and very fast, okay? When they're in atmosphere, they run on battery power, which still emits the the pulses, but it's a lower level on the band spectrum, the frequency spectrum. It's lower and slower, and that would knock around a compass like crazy. So if they're flying an atmosphere over you, I can see how the compass is going to pick that up, because that's the wave. That's the electromagnetic wave that they put that they're emitting as they drive through right on the lines.
That makes perfect sense. So I have a question regarding that, Aage. What inspired you, and how did you know how to make something like this?
Yeah, what gave you the idea?
No, that was just felt logical to me that if it was electromagnetic propulsion, I read a lot. So I started reading about, these kinds of things, electromagnetics and so on. So I figured if there was electromagnetic something in that thing, it should affect the compass needle.
Right.
So that's how I drew that. But I don't know what the range of it is. What I saw was probably no more than about, I don't know, maybe 2 miles away, something like that.
Well, I found it super interesting because I interviewed Melinda Leslie, who was taken on board a craft in California, Southern California, with 2 friends. They were all separated, getting physical exams by Grays and so forth. And one of the guys, was pulled into another room, and they told him all this stuff. And he basically said they taught him how to build one of those using pretty much that same exact principle, and told him that it's a very simple device, very cheap to make, and it operates on the principle that the magnetic fields of the craft will cause the magnetic field in the device to become interrupted, at which point it turns on the light or the alarm. So it's pretty much exactly what you designed there. I'm like, wow. And you can see some of these on the market actually right now if you go online for UFO detectors. I always kind of giggled at them and thought, I don't know, but it appears to be a valid scientific principle, so I find it really intriguing.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you, by the way. I was trying to give you the scientific reason why it works. It works. You're right. It does.
Yeah, then again, I can go further out of the box. Me being just a little kid, where did I get the idea from? These entities, they are very telepathic, and they maybe felt like I was poking around into areas. Maybe they could help, or who knows where I got the idea from. But
E.T. I think so.
yeah.
Wow,
That's
that sure
amazing.
is interesting. So you also, you grew up on a farm and have probably a real strong connection with animals. I bet you have some interesting stories about that.
Yeah.
But I'm super interested in, the fact that you sought out hypnosis. This is something that a number of contactees have told me that they got really interested in at a very early age, and were hypnotizing kids on the playground. But you actually met a magician. Can we hear about that?
Yeah, that was actually a very famous magician in Norway. His name was Tore Torell, and if you run him through on YouTube, you're going to see some really interesting stuff. Now, he told me one time that some of the stuff I do, he says, I don't know how it works because it shouldn't, but it does.
Huh. All right.
So he thought maybe he said that, or I could have deducted that somehow, that maybe he had some help, unseen help in some of these things. Like I know there are magicians that is in Las Vegas doing shows for 9 months, and then they take 3 months off and go to the Himalayas and spend 3 months there. One of them, he goes to South America and spend it in the jungle for 2 months, working with shamans. So
Wow.
they tap into a different form of source than what we consider source in 3D. And they're able to use those abilities in their art on stage. And I think that's what Tode Torell also was using.
All right.
So yeah, because he wrote a book that I got a hold, kind of a short, I don't know, about 30 pages. It's a small book about how to do hypnosis. And I read that thing and it made sense, and I started practicing a little bit. But then I got nosy and I called him, and we got to talking. And I told him that I was about to go to the United States and I was going to become a pilot and so on. He got interested. So we met in Oslo. We talked on the phone, and then we met a few times in Oslo, which is the capital of Norway. And he gave me some tricks that wasn't in the book, because him as a magician, he felt like he could do things like a hypnotherapist wouldn't do to get by barriers, because
All right.
every one of us has barriers in the mind that those barriers will protect the status quo and the comfort in your mind with vengeance. But we got to get around those barriers, and there's ways to neutralize them, and that's what I got good at. And that's why I'm not a hypnotherapist. Talk to Nori Love about that, because that involves medical issues and things like that. She's a hypnotherapist and I'm not. And I don't do much anymore since I teamed up with her, because she is so good at it. But there are things that you can do as a hypnotist to kind of a rapid induction method. It's one trick that hardly anybody knows about. When you shake somebody's hand, you can give them a short command and startle them. It could be by pulling the hand real fast. You got about 3/4 of a second to give them that command, and that command goes straight through the conscious understanding into the subconscious mind and into the theta. And
Wow.
it becomes a command that the subconscious mind will react on. And that's why sometimes you see stage hypnotists they shake their hand and people just fall over. That is not necessarily, they're not pretending. It actually does happen.
Yeah. Well, I believe it. My dad was once in an audience where there was a stage magician, and he denies it to this day. But my mom says, "Oh no, the magician hypnotized him and made him shout out spontaneously, 'Paul Revere is coming,' right at a cue, and he doesn't remember it at all." So
Yeah,
there's absolute truth to this.
yeah, there is something there. When you can get by the barriers, their mind is yours. And that I say with tongue in cheek, because there is responsibility in that statement, because they lose their control. Now, if you buy a book on hypnosis written by a parapsychologist or a PhD or something, they will never tell you the real truth about hypnosis. Because
Yeah, well, that's because the governments and the TV and the media actually
yeah,
use those techniques on the masses.
they don't absolutely, they don't want to scare people.
Right.
And that's why that in fact there are several murders done under hypnosis and people don't know they did it. It says in those books that you can't do anything against your religious belief and your character and so on. That's a bunk.
I agree.
But
I've
that's
seen it
why
happen. Yes.
when you do a hypnosis session, make sure that it is recorded.
And you trust the person is doing it. I mean,
Yeah, you-
absolutely trust the person. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So did you ever do hypnosis, Aage? Did you ever use it on people?
Yeah, of course I did that. Many over the shit. This is all 50 years ago. But uh, let me give you one example of what really can be done. We have time regressions, and you got Nori does something that I haven't seen anybody else do. She does time progression. She takes people forward in time to meet themselves, talk with themselves, get advice from themselves about what they should do in the present, maybe to get things to work better.
Hmm.
It's
Wow.
brilliant, and I never thought about doing anything like that, but she's doing it, and this really, gosh, I tell you, you should have a honest guest to talk about this sometime.
Sure.
But
I've
So
never
it's
heard of
while
that.
she,
That's
well,
interesting. Yeah.
okay, so it's a person while they're in the body that they're in now, and they're going in forward in time to talk to the person, this body, this person in the future.
yeah,
Not anything else, just this person.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
All right.
What I did one time, there was a lady, that was way back in Minneapolis, uh, 40 years ago. There was a lady that wanted to do a time regression to find out something about her past. And she was interested in before she was born.
Mhm.
So I put her under, and she kind of slumped up in the chair. And I had a tape recorder there, so it was recorded. I always did that. And I took her back to right after she was born, and she told me a little bit about being a baby. Then I took her back slightly before she was born, and I really don't remember a lot about what that was. But what I did remember, I took her back about 2,500 years before she was born, and she suddenly switched and started talking a foreign language. It became clear to me that it was an Asian language. And I don't know any Asian languages, but it sounded like it. And she, I asked in English, and she answered in that language. So I figured she's saying something after I ask, so she must understand. So I kept asking, and I kept talking, and she kept talking. I couldn't understand a word of what she said, but it went on the tape.
Hmm.
And we were talking for about, I don't know, 15 minutes like that. It was quite a while. And then I brought her back, and I ran the tape for her, and her jaw was sitting in her lap. She had no clue that she did this. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I made her
I'll find an
copy of this.
interpreter. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
she
kidding.
had a,
Yeah.
and then I didn't know what to do, but I got to talk to one of our students at the airport, and he said, "Oh yeah," he says, "I know what you can do with that. Take it down to the University of Minnesota to the language department, and there's this guy down there I know. You can talk to him." He says he can probably help you out. So I called him, and it sounded interesting enough to him. He says, "Oh, okay." He says, "I'll look at it. Send me the tape."
No.
So I did, with an explanation with it, and I didn't hear any more from him. So I figured, oh well, yeah, sure, they're gonna look at that. Of course they are. And about 6 months or quite a while afterwards, I got a letter from Tokyo. I I don't know, maybe I think it was Tokyo, but it came from a university professor at Osaka in Japan. He had looked at the tape and the explanation that the guy I knew in Minneapolis at the university had sent it to him.
Mm.
And he said, where he asked first several questions. He wanted to know, where did you get this language? Because this is a language that has been abolished over 1,000 years ago. But there was enough in there of similar words so he could understand some of the things that were said. The lady explained what it was like growing up as a young woman in Japan 2,500 years ago.
That's amazing. So accessing a
Wow.
past life, basically.
And
Yeah.
I don't think about this much, but I know I still got that tape somewhere in my many boxes.
That's very cool. Yeah, my sister-in-law, she was hypnotized and started speaking in a thick Irish brogue,
Oh, yeah.
which she can't do. I mean, she's just not good at it. And I know
Yeah.
Carmine Mirabelli, Brazil's greatest medium, could speak like 30 different languages, and 2 are dead languages.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
those 30 different languages was probably harvested from 30 different lifetimes.
Yep. I have 2 lifetimes that I absolutely remember. One was in India, and I can sing these Indian songs perfect. And I don't know how come I can do it, and I know what they mean, and it drives me crazy. And one of my doctors heard me singing it one day because he was Indian. He said, "Oh my God, where did you learn that? It's old." And I said, "I don't know. I just have a memory." And he's like, "My God, you're reincarnated." And then
Yeah.
my last life before this one, I could speak Portuguese. Okay, and that blew my mother away. I'd go around singing Portuguese songs and drove her crazy. And I understand what I'm saying when I'm singing it, but just to get me to talk to you in Portuguese, I have a hard time. Because I've learned Spanish, and but Portuguese is a mix between Greek and Spanish. So some of it I get and some of it I don't. But I know what I'm saying when I sing it. It's like I take the music with me, through my life.
Yeah.
Augie, I have a question for you. Do you yourself have any memories of your own past lives?
Yeah, I do.
Well, please do share if you're okay with it.
Oh, gosh, there's one of them that if you go to Broadcast Team Alpha, go down into the videos. There's one video there where Nori hypnotizes me live on the
Oh
show.
wow. Okay.
That sounds
And a lot of goofy stuff came out there that I had no idea of before. I kind of felt there was something there, but I didn't know. And it came out in that because Nori and I have had several lifetimes together.
My goodness, that's
And that's
amazing.
probably why we got drawn together again as partners in this podcast.
So,
And the
what did you
master-
remember? I mean, what was the past life, or can you recall?
Well, one of them was here on Earth, but we also have several on ships off planet. But with the one here on Earth, there was I was a businessman some 400 years ago, and in the shipping business. And there was one time that my companion is what they called it back then. They didn't call it wife. And the companion, she traveled with me on these journeys sometimes. And there were one time that we got into really bad weather, and it was my decision to go. I had to go because the freight had to get there. You know how that works, and then things go bad. The ship sank, and we drowned, both on the same trip.
Oh my.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? Past life memories always seem to involve that death scene. One that I've recalled out of body, usually taken to how I died. It's quite traumatic because I guess we carry the trauma through lifetimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we got the same thing in aviation too. If the weather is bad and the clouds are laying on the ground and the ducks don't even fly, but you have to get there, just don't.
Yeah. It's not safe. Exactly right. That's bad. Very
Yeah.
bad.
But because I've done that, and it is scary. When you're going, let's say 500 miles, don't see a thing, you're in the clouds, you catch the localizer and the glide stop, and you're heading down to the runway, and you see you passing the 200-foot mark where you're supposed to
Right.
miss the approach,
Yeah.
and you're looking at the fuel gauges, and it says,
Oh no.
I can't go anywhere.
No. I
And
gotta
you
go
have to
down.
keep-
Yeah.
that happened twice that I can remember. I flew the airplane all the way down. I could see the lights on the side, couldn't see the runway, and
Yeah.
I could hear the wheels touching before I saw the ground.
Oh my God.
That
That's
is
scary.
not a good feeling.
Did you start breathing once you landed? Because that's when you hold your breath, you
I
know?
probably, I
Oh,
probably
it's
haven't
horrible.
breathed for about
And you
3
pull
or
your
4 minutes.
backside off the seat because it's grabbed it permanently. Yeah.
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 All right, here's a question I'm popping up because I'm also curious. What was the past life off planet?
That was
Says
one
Alice.
time where we were on a very large ship. It was kind of like a planetary ship. There was thousands or hundreds of miles big. And people were born there, they grew up there, and they died there. They never left the ship. They never set foot on a planet at all. That ship was their planet. And we were working with people. She, there was in a health related type of thing. And I was doing different things, but we were both on that ship, and we had a somewhat of a lifetime together there too. And this is something that is we're going to find out very shortly here, because there is someone now from the CIA that has come out and said that extraterrestrials will, he didn't say may, he said will make themselves known in 2027.
Well, that
So
wouldn't surprise me
I
because it
think,
feels like it's inevitable
yeah.
at some point.
And then we're going to find out that yes, there are ships like that. There are thousands of miles long. I have on Broadcast Team Alpha in the picture gallery, I have a picture of an 800-mile long ship sitting right outside of the outer ring of Saturn.
Mm.
It was taken by NASA in the infrared spectrum. That ship is 800 miles long, sitting right outside the outer ring. And you can see it clear as a bell.
What year
It
did
is
they
there.
that? And what year was it?
Uh, I think that dates back probably maybe 8-10 years. They took that because one of our probes went by Saturn and they took the picture from the probe.
Yeah. Well, I did talk
That
to a
was before
whistleblower
that. Yeah.
who said something like that. A guy who was on the ship that picked up the astronauts was a petty photographer. Suddenly they bumped him up to top secret and he was developing the films coming from the astronauts, talked to them personally. And he said that, yes, they've detected some very large, extremely large masses that are clearly artificial within our own solar system. And that was back in the real early 70s, 71, 72.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have that one planet size, a huge planet even, ship sitting inside of the corona of our sun, sucking up energy from the surface of the sun. You can see the spiral coming out, going into that round
I
globe.
did see that footage. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen the footage.
It's
They can't do
phenomenal.
that. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is no chance of that being anything but a ship. Because if it was a planet, it wouldn't be sucking up energy from the sun in a spiral going into it.
Wow.
It's not a planet. It's a ship refueling itself.
Very interesting.
Wow.
So you speak a bunch of different languages. What are some of the languages? I'm just curious because I'm really into languages. What are some of the languages that you speak?
Oh, I used to claim 6, but I don't anymore because when I ran for Congress, there was a meeting here in town, and they had all the celebrities and everybody there, and we had a big to do about it. And I met a lady from France, and she asked me, "Parlez-vous français?" And in my stupidity, I said, "Oui." And from there on, I proceeded to make a total idiot of myself for the next 2 or 3 minutes before I switch back to English again, because I realized how much I had forgotten.
Right.
So I don't claim that language. It's gone.
Patrick, I mean,
But
Preston listens
you know,
to French all the time for that reason. Yeah.
being
Yeah.
a Scandinavian, I know Norwegian, Swedish, and Danish, and I would not strive to death in Germany, and I'm still working on my English, so I can.
I have a hard time in English. I'm so bad. I can't spell anything in English at all. I constantly have to look at how to spell the word because
The only
our
thing I know in
vowels are different.
Swedish is taxamika. Dolly taught me that.
Taxamika, yeah.
Just thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you now, Dolly, you may be wrong about that. Did you ever get set up to speak light language?
No, I am wide open psychic, and so I hear everything all the time psychically, and I can't because I'm on all the time. I have to pick who I'm talking to when I'm talking to them because I'm right there on. It drives me a little bonkers. I've heard people speaking in my language, and I try to tap when they're doing it. I tap into them, but I hear the English in their head, but they're speaking in that language, and I know they know what they're saying in it somehow, but I don't make the connection to it yet.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I'm struggling with that. There was a lady in England that initiated Nori and me on a show, before the show actually,
Yeah.
and I'm struggling with this because I just don't get it.
Thank you. I don't either. I I was so down about it. I asked my contact Talala, and he explained to me that I should just be patient with myself and let it be. And I said, okay, what does that mean? Me be patient with myself. And he said, we all are allowed to be who we are. And I said, okay, all right. So I get that. You know?
Chances are that it is somewhat similar to speaking in tongues.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly
agree
what
about
I'm
that.
thinking.
I
Yeah.
think that I agree about that. That's
It's a way to access your
Yeah.
super conscious or your subconscious.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now I do know how to speak the tall grays. They have a language, okay, and I can speak in that language. And I've been allowed to say a few words. I'm not allowed to give more than that because they say we have people here who can, you know, unlock it, and they don't want them to. And so it's a very easy form of their language, and it's like me, you would be at ut, you're you know, at ut. And then I've taught people how to say I'm ready, atriar.
Yes, I was going to say it.
Yeah,
Atreya.
ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she taught that to me.
Yeah.
So if you see a UFO, say Atreyar.
Yeah.
If
So-
it's the Greys, they'll understand. Well, they understand you telepathically. Language is
Yeah,
truly
they don't need that's
telepathic.
that's how people wonder about that. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it doesn't matter what ethnicity of ET are talking to you, you understand them no matter what. And it's because psychic language, the way your mind works, your mind is broadcasting in frequency, okay? Different levels, bands of a level of frequency. And the frequency is the language itself, and they speak it. And when
Yeah.
we speak psychically, we use that language as well. And so we all can talk. It doesn't matter what language you speak. Psychic is all on its own.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you ever had anybody or anything speak to you,
Oh, yeah.
but they were not using the lips, they were just mouth were closed, but you could hear them in your head?
Yes, absolutely. All the time. Yep. My mama Togre, she never mouths anything to me. She just, we speak mind, you know. Tolada is a disembodied fifth dimensional being, so he doesn't have a mouth. It's all psychic with him, perfectly psychic. He only shows me images of what he used to be eons ago. He's had many different lives around the universe, and he gives me ones that are comforting to me, you know. But all the Greys speak telepathically, all of them, and they're psychic on every level of psychic you can be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep, and actually, Truth Seeker says you can do that with Sasquatches too, which I learned early on when I interviewed a guy. He says, "Oh yeah, I was in telepathic contact with Sasquatch," and I'm like, "Really?" I started getting more reports of it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is a thing." So absolutely. I mean, this is, I think, with animals as well. This is how animal communicators work, and why contactees have such a close relationship with the animal kingdom,
Right.
Yeah.
which you probably, growing up on a farm, had. I mentioned that earlier. I was wondering now, Aage, if you have any interesting encounters with animals. Having grown up on a farm and being, a contactee, at least I think you are. You haven't said you are, but if you've had repeated encounters, sightings, I suspect
When
on
you're
some level you're a contactee.
Yeah, there is one experience. I don't talk about this much because it's so hard to believe. And
Okay.
okay, I'll tell you the story. There is, when I came to the United States, I went to flight school for a year, and that Christmas I went back to Norway to visit, over Christmas. And I got back to the farm, which we then had sold to someone else, and they were doing the farm. And I walked off into the forest. I just kind of wanted to maybe see it for the last time, or I don't know why I was
Oh,
thinking.
wow.
I
Yeah.
walked off into the forest because we had a pretty sizable forest. In the forest, there was a Viking grave mound.
Yeah.
It was probably some, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 foot tall or something. It was quite
Right.
sized.
They have runes
Wow.
on it?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was
Okay.
quite big. It was a big mound.
Yeah.
And I crawled up on that thing, and there was a rock up there, and I sat down and I started meditating. And I was sitting there for a while, and then I heard something. I heard just like somebody turn on a faucet. There was water running.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking, wait a minute, I'm here in the middle of the woods, no water here. So I opened my eyes up, and there, probably about 7, 8 feet away from me, there was this man standing there. He had a robe on, a white
Wow.
robe, gold cufflinks, and gold around here, and it scared the chocolate out of me. I jumped up and I ran down from there and headed on back, and I heard this voice in my head that said, "Where are you going?" And I remember thinking about that. Well, yeah, if he wanted to get me, he probably could have done that. So I walked back. He was still standing up there waiting for me. So I walked back up there, and I sat down again. And we didn't, in the beginning, I was here, he was there, didn't say anything. And then we started to have a conversation.
Wow.
And it was actually mostly him talking, me listen deal. But I did get some answers to some of my questions.
Awesome.
One of them was, "What is your name?" And he said, "We don't use names. Our image, when we can't, no, it was something about I gotta paraphrase this. When we contact someone, their image is their name. So they visualize the image and then they have the contact."
Right.
And there were other things that I asked. And he proceeded to tell me about some of the things that he suggested that I would do.
Hmm.
He said, "What you are starting a new life on, it's going to be difficult." He says, "Don't quit." And there were times in flight school, oh, I wanted to quit so bad.
Yeah, I
But
hated it.
I had done,
I couldn't stand it. Okay.
yeah, and there were times when I wanted to quit so bad, but I had done something very important.
Yep.
I burned my bridge. I had nothing to go back to. I had to continue and succeed, and I did that. But he told me some of the things, and one of the things he did, which we are doing right now. He said, find a way to speak to the whole world.
Right.
Wow.
Back in 1972 and 73, that Christmas between there, we didn't have a way to talk to the whole world. Didn't exist.
Nope.
But evidently, here we are.
Exactly.
Yeah. He also told me several other things that I haven't really done all that well because I've been distracted by other things.
Hmm.
But he also said that when you ask, we will help you.
Right.
And I know there's been times when I asked and I had that help.
That's
There's
amazing.
something that is going to happen here, and he says you be part of. There will be a big change, and be part of that. Help to guide it. And now, of course, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we may not quite have even understood that, but now we do. And
Yes.
that's one of the reasons you, Dolly, and Preston, and myself, and Nori, and many others doing these things that we do.
Right.
We do it for the fun of it, but more so because we know it is the right thing to do.
To do. Right.
Help people.
Exactly.
Well, we have to take a quick station break. But first, I'm going to say happy birthday, Maggie. I hope you are having a wonderful birthday. And I want to let all of you know that you are watching episode number 18 of The Lightgate. I am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is, let's see which direction. No, this one. Dolly Saffron, contactee. And of course, our wonderful guest, Aage Nost, who is the host of Broadcast Team Alpha, along with his partner, Nori Love. And we are streaming live on United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana. Also on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3. So thank you for that. And also, of course, on YouTube and Facebook and on Roku. And I'm seeing some of your questions in there. I'm putting little marks on them so we can bring them up at some point and ask our guests and Dolly and, of course, me. But yes, let's get back to the show.
Yes, Aage, you want to say something? I see it.
Yeah. How long a break do we have?
We're done.
That's it. It was just
We're done. Okay.
Unless if you need to hop off for a second, Dolly and I will hold the fort.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I forgot my coffee, so I'm only half a man here now.
Actually, I'm doing tea tonight, actually. I'm trying not to have too much caffeine today. I've drank half a pot of coffee. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk much about UFOs or extraterrestrials, but maybe
still
there's
have
time
We
for
got an
that.
hour. Let's
We
go.
We have an hour. I do want to get to the questions at some point because I got like 20 of them or so, 15 or 20.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, we usually do that towards the last
I
part of the
guarantee you
show.
there's going to be UFO questions. I guarantee it. Yep. Okay. What's the first time have you been aboard a craft?
Before I was born, yeah.
Okay.
But there is something there, but I have never gone after it. And that is one thing that I actually had a discussion with Nori on that. And I was visiting her on the East Coast, and we just never got around to it. And that is one thing that I do want to do. I want to go back and find out what it was, but I don't have any conscious memory of that.
Okay.
Actually, on a ship, I've had, being a pilot and flying as much as I did, I've seen stuff. I had one ship come within 400 foot, flew right underneath my airplane.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool. He was trying not to knock you out. He was underneath you. His emitters were pointing away from you. That was a deliberate act. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Oh
was
my
going to
God.
ask about that because someone involved in aviation, you must have had some encounters while flying. So that
Yeah,
must have been
I
amazing.
spent a lot of time in pilot lounges around the airport where pilots, they fly people in and then they sit in the pilot lounge waiting for 6 hours until they come back and then they fly home. I
Right.
did a lot of that, and there were times when I asked them if they had seen any UFOs or things in the sky that shouldn't be there.
Right.
I found that half of them said that, yep, I've seen something. And the other half, they said, no, I haven't seen anything, or they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Yeah. That's
So
amazing.
a
So,
lot of the pilots, they have seen things,
yeah.
but they're little, at least before, they used to be a little scared about talking about it because their job was on the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now that's changing now.
Right. So did you okay, so you were in a Cessna? What type of plane were you in when you saw the
Oh,
UFO?
that was in northern Nebraska. I was
Okay.
flying some stuff up there on a contract for someone, and for UPS actually. There was
Ah,
one of the pilots were not there, so I took the flight and went up there. And then, being a flight instructor, whenever you're at an airport and you have time, there's always somebody that wants a lesson.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I went up with a student and we flew around for a little bit,
Wow.
and I saw this thing coming from about 45 degrees
Okay.
from the right side
Yeah.
towards me, and it didn't make sense because it didn't look like an airplane. It
Okay.
looked really strange because it looked more like a skateboard than a disc. But
Okay.
it had windows on the side of it,
Wow.
smaller windows, and it
Okay.
came very fast, right underneath the airplane, and exited back over my shoulder. So
Oh my God.
and I was doing instrument training with the students, so she had a hood on. She couldn't see anything outside, so I just took the hood off and I turned the airplane around and said, "Did you see that?" And she couldn't see it, but it
Oh,
was
wow.
it was gone by
Wow.
Wow, you make people fly with a hood. That's brutal.
now.
I don't
That
know.
was
Some people,
the hood is so you cannot see anything outside. You can only fly by the instruments, and
right.
that's kind
That's
of
why
the training. Yeah,
you're not looking out. You're checking the
yeah,
board. Yeah.
That's amazing. Too bad
Uh,
we can't fly planes psychically like they do UFOs. It would be a lot
yeah.
easier.
no, 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 no. No, different, different, different. Yeah. That's amazing. My very first flight lesson, I was a young teenager, and it was at a Peachtree Cab Airport in Atlanta. And I was up visiting for Benning, and we'd gone to Atlanta for something. And my brother was already flying by then anyway, and he was kind of a hot dog, this guy. And he took me up, and he said, "Okay, let's see what you got." And I did not understand what he meant by that. And he flew straight up. He stalled to shoot it. Okay. And we dropped. And then he dropped the wing down and we got the engine started again. And I was like, do that again. He was out. He said, do that. I really wanted him to do it again. He did not expect me to do that. He said, okay, you can learn to fly. I'll teach you. It's like, God, that blew my mind. That blew my mind when he did that to me. So,
Yeah, aerobatics can be a lot of fun. I used to teach aerobatics, and that was a blast.
yes, absolutely. It's better than anything, actually. I believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you, Augie. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Can you talk a little bit about your book, which is so well received on Amazon, Spiritual Science, Higher Consciousness Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness? Because this looks like it's kind of your specialty. But you've really worked hard on this sort of concept.
Yeah. This is a compilation of my own research and my own practices, and an incredible experience that I had about 8 years ago, actually 9 years ago now. And that was when I was sitting in meditation, and I had a universal download when the universe was explained to me both in concept and detail.
Yeah,
Much of that is in the book.
that's
And in
cool.
this book, I teach people how to use their mind in ways that you normally would think would be impossible.
Right.
And we talk about how to stay healthy all the time and never ever get sick. I don't remember ever getting sick except having some really bad hangovers, but those were earned, so I'm not counting those. But in here also, I talk about the universe, what time is, what the universe is, how it started, who God is, how did so-called mankind get started, because it was all in that download. And in fact, that's something that science is going to find out fairly soon, because it's listed as being common knowledge pretty soon. I don't know if anybody's talking about it yet, but time is is a is a linear progression created by the mind, by frames of present moments, one placed after another one. And the distance between each frame is, there's a distance between, so it's separated. But we move through it so fast it appears as one fluid moment. And time is kind of like a square wave generator. There's actually some physics to this. The time, the spike on the time frame, it comes up. Now you have a present moment. It moves over a little bit and then it collapses to nothing. And then it moves over a little bit and it spikes. You have a present moment again. It moves over and collapses. In each present moment, there is absolutely nothing.
Right. You're describing that pretty good. The human mind, the way we're programmed, the way our physical mind works, you're exactly describing exactly how our physicality in the third dimension perceives
Mhm.
time, and that we see it in a linear line like this. And it is true. It was taught to me by the Greys that when it drops off, it's gone. You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any physical form anymore. Time is actually for us in this dimension is empty behind us. Possibilities are in front of us, and we're physically in the moment every moment we live. That's how
Mhm.
time is. Yep. Yep.
I'm hearing now that there are physicists that is actually starting to talk about this,
Well, it's a good
because
thing.
the distance between each present moment is minus 10 to the 43rd power.
Hmm.
That means minus 10 and 43 zeros of a second.
Wow.
Now that's not a very big time uh,
Right.
space, but that between each one of those there is nothing. Everything in the unified field collapses to nothing,
That's
and
right.
then it rebuilds itself.
Right.
So
Our
this,
collective, yeah, our collective consciousness, all of us here together, we are experiencing through psychic ability that linear time together. We're all aware of it exactly at the
yeah,
same time. And it's weird, but that's the way it is. Have you ever had somebody tell you that they've been in an accident and somehow it slows down?
yep,
Click,
I've
click, click.
sure heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the brain slowing it down. So you're seeing that time frame going as it's actually going in that click, 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 click. It slowed it down for you so that it gives you time to mentally react to it, to save yourself if you're in
yeah,
danger, you know?
Time is so strange because I remember when I'd be working at the office, as soon as I get there, time would seem to stop, and I'd be stuck at work for 24 hours, and then you get home and whoosh, the night goes so fast. Time is very interesting. It's, I think, a product of being in the third dimension to a certain degree, but a lot of, if you read about spiritual enlightenment and spiritual masters, they talk about the present moment. And that's where people should really focus their attention on, because
Right.
if you look at people, a lot of them are living in the past and bound by it, or frightened of the future and are bound by that. It's
Yeah.
really important to just live in the moment.
Right.
Present
But
is the moment of power.
Aki talks about something that I do agree with. up to a point, okay? And I'll tell you how I think about it when you talk about it. We're capable of intending for things to occur
Yes.
just by our own thoughts. If we want something, we need it, we desire it, we can actually visualize it in our mind and work our own ability to have it occur. And it will occur. The universe is very giving and it will hand you anything you want. That's why you have to be careful what you want, because once you decide and you make it happen, and it does happen, you're responsible for it, you know? And we are the masters of our existence. We really are. And we're all together in this big old pot of doing that. So we're bouncing off one another and affecting one another. And there's a real responsibility in that, because we're supposed to not hurt one another. Okay. We're not supposed to rip ourselves to pieces and have negative influences against each other. And that's part of our problem today. There's a lot of that going on. And
Yeah.
it takes a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Stayed, focused thinking through and helping people to dial it back a little bit, you know, help each other.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick here and just talk about Helen Hadsell, who, if you haven't heard of, is the world's leading winner of contests. She enters every contest, and she uses that same technique
Yeah.
of intent. And
Yeah.
she says that's how she's won all these contests. And I heard about her because she physically levitated. And I was researching levitation. She wanted to levitate. She intended it, and she
That's how it
meditated, went on a trampoline. And
Let everything around you go, and boom, it happens. You just get out of the way of your intention, and it happens. I've also learned that when I'm growing a garden, or I'm, want something to happen to physically to my environment, I can actually facilitate it in weird ways. I can make things grow better. I can make pests walk away from plants. I can get an animal to do my bidding just for intending it to. I don't have to talk to it. I just say, I need this animal to do this for me. Being a zookeeper, trust me, that's a big deal when you're working with them. And they do. I have that ability to somehow involuntary or voluntarily get them to cooperate with me. And it's a big thing in my head. And when you started talking about it, I was like, oh my God, you kind of get it, Absolutely.
Another thing I talk about in this book is something that if you're in college or if you got kids in college, you really need to listen. And that is that I was very lucky. I've been for 1 year. I traveled around the country in the United States teaching a mind development course where we taught people how to assimilate information out of a book at about 95% retention, because we bypass the conscious mind and put it when you turn 2 pages a second, you take a mental picture of it.
Right.
Then it bypassed the conscious mind, put it directly into long-term memory, and later on we use triggers to pull the information out, just like you do with any other long-term memory.
Yeah.
This is very possible, and I talk about it because I've seen people in college, when they start using this method, they jump to A and B students wherever they are down the road there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I took a speed reading course in college. It helped me so much. I thought it was a little bit ridiculous at first, but then you're basically taking snapshots of each page. Snap, snap, snap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all have eidetic memories. It's just learning how to access it.
You just have to concentrate for it, or teach yourself what those triggers are. You know, it's amazing. My brother used to test me all the time when I was a kid. He'd say, "Okay, remember this," and it used to frustrate him because I have an eidetic memory. I can recall almost anything at any time. And he said, "How do you do it? How do you do it?" And I said, "If I tell you the truth, you're not going to believe me." And he says, "Well, tell me." And I said, "Associate everything with either a smell or a sound, and it triggers me to make that memory. Color, smell, and sound. And I don't know why it works that way, but it just does. It's how my mind works." And,
very cool. Well, how about we get to some of the questions and comments?
Okay.
How does that sound? So first, I want to give a shout out to all the people who very kindly donated with a super chat. That is very, very kind of you, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much, Doxy and Dana. That is so awesome. I'm getting to the questions real quick, but this is my first time getting second time getting super chats. So I am like just super grateful. Thank you, Jonas. That
Wow.
is just the nicest thing ever. Okay, and now we get to a question. I want to see a UFO, says the Mookie. How can I reach to them? I believe to be an enlightened person. I understand I am part of the whole world is God. What now?
Okay.
So what would be?
Let me tell you how you can go out and you can see UFOs every time you go out. Not in the daytime.
Right.
Do it at night. And get your hands on a 4th generation night vision goggles, because they can see higher up into the light spectrum than your eyes can. So when you go outside at night, point those into the skies, you will see the traffic jam up there. There's ships going right, left. Some of them are long cigars, some of them are triangles, and most of them are actually points of light, but they change direction. They're not stars, they go different goofy directions. So this cannot be explained away.
Yeah, I've used night goggles. They work. They're amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they, the way they discovered this is because over in the Middle East, in the murderous war that the Bushes started, they gave these night vision goggles to the soldiers, and they get all kinds of complaints. The soldiers told them, "Wait a minute, something's wrong here. We have the goggles on and we see people. We take them off, they're not there anymore. What's the story?" So they took the goggles away from the regular soldiers and left them with the officers, because they could control the officers more. They wouldn't talk so much. But this works. You can do it. Or another thing you can do too, and that is get your hands on one of these laser pointers. Go outside at night, point it into the sky. Never point it at an airplane, because if it hits the eyes on a pilot,
it's illegal. Yeah, it's illegal. You're not allowed to.
Yeah, you got to be careful too. Just circle the craft around it. If you see one, go around the craft, because actually ET have very light sensitive eyes as well. And if you hit the cockpit, you're going to hurt them. So just go around them. They'll see it going around them, because they can see it from the point where you're from, and
there
then
you go.
up into space. So
And then go into a meditative state and visualize yourself rising up, see the ship, and going towards the ship and through the wall and inside, and stand on the floor, look around, visualize someone looking kind of like yourself, seeing yourself inside the ship. Because these guys, many of them are very telepathic. They will understand your request.
Yep, absolutely.
I have done this here in Tucson, and they come in, so I know it works.
Yeah, it's all about consciousness. Well, I'm going to keep going, because I flagged 27 questions. Well, not all questions. I do want to give a few more shout outs to Derry D. Thanks for the contribution. And also thank you to, let's see here, Red Peanut. Thank you very much. Love the show. Wish we had a better chance to talk to y'all. I love interacting with you guys. We try to get to all your questions. So thank you very much, Red Peanut. That's very kind of you. I need to give these guys a shout out. This is awesome. Thank you, Raul Melendez. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
A couple of more here real quick. Allison, thank you so much. You guys, it's truly appreciated. You have no idea how much this warms my heart. Thank you, Chewy. I truly do appreciate that.
I mean, wow.
Chewy must be a Star Trek fan.
Kason Lee, we're going to give you your shameless plug to your UFO channel called Unknown Archive. So anyone here listening, check it out. I'm definitely going to check that out. And as I say, no question is too small. So let's see, what else do we have here? I think you already answered this one regarding the UFO detector. Oh no, you haven't.
No, that didn't look. Yeah, no. I don't know if Augie agrees with me about this, so I'm going to be gentle. They're not here. They left in 2021, and the last of them were right at the end of the year, 21, early 2022. The last of them, all the big motherships that everybody was seeing in the 90s and the 2000s, they were picking people up right and left and getting them the heck out of here. There are a lot more people, hybrids and ET on Earth than you know, and they're getting them out. And it's because our magnetosphere is going down. It's 40%. Flying for them is dangerous in our magnetosphere now, inside our atmosphere, because our field lines are wildly going in wrong directions and they drop off suddenly. And that's why they've been crashing for the last 80 years. Yeah. And it got to a pinnacle, and now they are not here.
But there's still a few of those ET drones, not a lot.
They have sentinels. They have drones and sentinels, and they are watching us. They can afford to lose them because nobody is on board them other than AI. And they're
it's a tricky topic because they can actually astral project to you as well. You can be in telepathic contact at any time.
If you see orbs are how do I put this? When I remote view and I'm remote viewing friends or whatever, or places here, people see me as a blue orb, and it struck me profoundly when I realized that, oh yeah, I am a blue orb. I don't think about it because I'm projecting, okay? And ETs, when they project, they come out as either white orbs or blue orbs, or even sometimes purple orbs. And they're remote viewing you. And people say, well, we can see faces in them. Yeah, you can. You can see their face in it. It's their face. What you look like is in the orb.
And I suspect there are actually ETs on this planet who are walking and have stayed here. And let's face it, we're all in a sense.
Yeah,
ETs.
They're with us. Yeah, they're still here.
All right.
Some.
So,
yeah.
Here is another question about time from Rad Peanut. I've wondered about this. Is time speeding up? The world has felt very weird the past few years. What do you think, Aage?
Yes, I believe it is, and it seems like it when you look at what you're doing these days compared to what you did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it took a lot longer to get things done. Now it's just kind of passes. I get up in the morning and
you're going to bed at night, right?
Noon. But no, there's actually some science behind this too, and that is that every 26,600 years we're moving around the great circle of the galaxy.
Yep.
From the center of the galaxy, there's a black hole there. There is a spike of energy coming out, the radiation.
Right.
And in that radiation, which we now have just entered into, and that is
electromagnetic field current. Right.
Yeah. That's what creates the acceleration into fifth dimension and so on, wherever people want to go. But we are in it, and in there, time is speeded up.
Yeah. You want to hear something? Ask any scientist on this planet right now. Earth is usually 24 hours a day. We go around the sun every 24 hours. It's not that anymore. We're now faster. They are actually clocking us under 24 hours. And that is really cool. And I think we speed up. I'm not kidding you. We're speeding up, physically speeding up. So I think that's part of the effect, honestly. You know, it's pretty cool.
Well, another thank you to Maggie Smith for the donation. Much appreciated. And here's another from Namaste. Huge namaste to you for the donation of $19.99. That's so awesome, you guys. Thank you really much.
Yeah.
Okay, here is another question from Tools. This is regarding hypnosis, Aage. I've heard it said that hypnosis can help people remember, but can it also help people forget?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know about the forgetting part or getting rid of memory, because it is energy, and energy does never go away, but you can block it so it never bothers you and you never think about it, or things like that can be done through hypnosis. I've done so much with it in years past, decades past, that there's hardly anything that cannot be repaired by hypnosis, including health issues,
Right. I agree.
mind issues.
All right. Well, here, I'm not sure if you're going to answer this question from Chewy, but are there any hypnosis specialists in the Midwest for abductions in past lives? I am sure there
Yes.
are if you do your research. I'm not sure
I
where
would
you're at.
say I have personal experience with Nori, and that's why I recommend her, because I know she's good at what she does. And contact her. You'll find her on broadcastteamalpha.com, or you can contact me and I'll get you in touch, whatever you do.
All right.
Aage, where are you located?
I am in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Augie's links are in the notes on the description. So if you guys want to reach out to him, you can do it that way. But Broadcast Team Alpha, you should be able to find that pretty easily.
Broadcastteamalpha.com, and there's a contact there, so you'll find us there.
All right. So here is another question from Simon the Likeable. I like that. What will the aliens do once here? They're going to scoop us off.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to do that? Or you want to do it?
Well, I want to hear your opinion first.
Okay.
Go first.
You're the
They have
guest.
been waiting, and they have been waiting because, let's face it, we're kind of slow. They have been waiting for hundreds of years for us to accelerate into a process that will also coincide with us being in this particular band of photons coming out from the center of the galaxy at the same time, because that creates the acceleration into a higher vibratory existence as well as mine. So when they come here, they are going to be our friends. But you got to also remember, the CIA and the dark side of the American government, they have a program called Project Bluebeam. So if they actually unleash that, there will be a day when you wake up and there's thousands of ships in the sky.
It's not real.
And among those ships, there will be some real ones that we also have, or should I say the government have. And they'll be shooting at things on the ground to create fear among the people. And then they also have it figured out. I'm going to have to tell you this because it could happen. I doubt it, but it could. And that is the Christians and the Muslims, they're going to be the last ones to fall for this lie. But they have a way to get them too, because when that happens, you're going to see Jesus coming in the sky. If you're in Saudi Arabia and you're a Muslim, you're going to see Muhammad.
Yeah.
And they are going to be talking to you through a technology that was patented in 1978, the first one I find, and that is voice to skull technology.
Right.
They're beaming microwave to your head, and they have keyed voice onto the microwave, so when it hits your skull, you can hear the voice saying, I am Jesus.
Yeah.
I am your God.
That's
Do
like
as your
5G.
government.
The whole world's wired in it. Yep. 5G is the facilitator, and you'll hear it, no problem. That's why we went to the type of cell phones we have and everything. The only difference between what you're saying, what I'm saying, and it's very small actually, is that it is because we are facing a micronova, and they don't want us in the way, and they want to survive it. They've already planned to go underground. They have all their stuff ready to go, and when it happens, we're going to be fighting them for it, and they don't want us here to do that. And that's why they're going to be doing what they're doing. ET is coming back as soon as that micronova happens. Our poles will have gone to the point where they start settling in and doing what they're supposed to do, and our magnetosphere will strengthen again. And in that moment, between that moment and the micronova, they're coming back in mass to pick us up. And that's why my advice to everybody is be ready to go. Survive what the government's got coming for you. Just don't do what they tell you to do. Be your own person. Think things through for yourselves. Seek the truth, and try to survive, because ET will pick you up. And the shift that you're talking about, Augie, is they're going to take you into dimensional space to get you the hell out of here. Excuse my French. And we're going somewhere else to be safe, out of the solar system completely, and very far away. Because
Well, that would be very exciting.
yeah,
That'll be an exciting day. Okay, now here's a question I love from CT Guy 85. Question for everyone. How does someone go about discovering their past lives, especially if they have zero conscious memories of anything and don't have any paranormal experiences? Now I'm going to jump in real quick, Augie, because I think this is a good one for all of us. But yeah, well, life itself is paranormal. You are having paranormal experiences, but you can look to your past lives through your likes, your dislikes, your phobias, your talents. All of these are pointers. If you have deja vu of a certain area, if you're drawn to a certain kind of food, all of these are pointing towards your past lives. Your dreams will reveal your past lives. Meditate on it. Learn astral projection, and you will immediately start having past life recall. That's my quick answer. But you go, Augie and Dolly. Your turn.
I would say that if you have anything in your life whatsoever in the past that resembles missing time, or if you have a drawn, if you find yourself outside in the backyard at night staring into the sky and thinking, I don't want to be here, I want to come and get me. You know, goofy things, that thoughts that come. But if you have missing time, contact Nori, and she can take you back, and you can have a look at what happened.
right.
And
My
ways to do that safe, so it is not traumatizing. You can look at it from an observer's point of view. You don't have to relive it.
right. Exactly. You're safe. The whole time you're under hypnosis, you're safe. You're here in the here and now. All you're doing is remembering something away from it. It can't touch you. The only thing that I say is that two or three things are important. Clean up the toxicity in your body. Get healthy. Quit using fluoride. Allow the pineal gland in your head to work properly. That ups the gain in your psychic ability. Start meditating. Learn to center and get away from negativity. Our consciousness, who we really are, because we're indwelling in the body, our consciousness knows everything that's going on, but it can't communicate with you if that gland isn't working right. So get it to work right. Meditate. If you're having a hard time and you want to know right now, hypnosis is a good way to go. And like Augie says, it does work and it does help. It's a long, hard road to get your psychic ability up and running as an adult, but keep trying. Don't ever stop. Persevere. But if the other is more relevant to you right now and you just need answers right now, that's the way to go. I agree.
All right, here is another question from Fun Talks TV. I think this applies to you as well, Augie, even though the question is directed to Dolly, who's Fun Talks is asking. You are telepathic. Do you hear your voice with their words, or do you hear their voice in
No, that
your
was
head?
their voice talking
Yeah,
in my head.
absolutely. I hear their voice. Absolutely. It's not my voice at all. And everybody is different. So I'm really good at frequencies, sounds, and stuff like that. So I've learned to identify you by your psychic voice. And I know Talata's talking to me, or Mama, or Micha, or whoever. And yeah, it's theirs. If you're talking to yourself, if you hear your own voice, think about why. Because that might be your consciousness trying to make it into you to tell you something. We do really try to communicate consciously with ourselves, and it's trying to tell you something. So think about that. If it's your voice, your higher consciousness is trying to get something through to you. Think about that. It's an interesting thing.
All right, here's another question, which is directed to you, Dolly, but I'm going to direct it to you as well, Augie. If Xavier, how do you pronounce that? Xavier?
Xavier.
Oh, hope I got that right, Xavier.
Espanol.
Asking, if I go into deep meditation, is there any chance that I communicate with the Greys? I know I was abducted at least twice back in 1994 while in law school in Massachusetts.
Well, I'm going to take the lead on this one. Yes, but don't tell them you were abducted by them. Say, when you contacted me, you left me wondering things and I have questions. And then think the question. Don't go in negative, go in positive. That's the fastest way you can contact. Okay, Avi, go for it.
Absolutely. I think when somebody know they have been abducted, that means that they remember something. They just
Right,
don't wonder anymore. Now you know.
right,
So go have a look at it, because there can maybe really pearls of knowledge and information in there that can really help you.
right,
If nothing else, it'll help you to understand it.
right.
All right. Well, let's move to the next one then. And let's see here. This is from Spirit T. And this says, oh, this is to me. Bonsoir à tout, Preston. J'apprends ce soir que tu parles français. Merci pour tout ce que tu fais. He says, good evening to you, Preston. I've learned this evening that you speak French. Thank you for all that you do. Well, thank you very much. Oui, je parle français, mais je parle comme un enfant. I speak like a kid. I'm still learning. Thank you, though. That's cute. I wish I could speak better. I'm trying to keep up. I spent years learning French, and I still can't quite do it. Okay. Sorry, that was fun. Had to have a little fun there. Okay, here is a question from Sophie, who asks, why do you think so many Rh negatives, that's a blood type, are contactees? I'm a contactee and AB negative myself. It bothers me where Rh negatives originate from and why so many of us are contactees. So do you have any thoughts on that, Aage?
Well, maybe Dolly can answer this. Is the last
Absolutely can
thing.
answer. The Rh negative blood comes from Basque ancestry, and the Basque are transplants. They're hybrid transplants from long ago that came in at the beginning of this iteration 12,000 years ago. They spread all over Europe. Swedes mostly have A blood. They have a lot of Basque blood in them. A lot of Swedes are positive as well as negative. If you're related to an Rh negative person and your blood is positive, it doesn't mean you're not part of that group. You are. That's where people get confused. Every single person on this planet pretty much has an ancestor who has Rh negative blood. Our entire planet is covered in it. You are related to ET. We are their children. They are our progenitors. And it doesn't matter whether you have it or not. ET is interested in everybody and they care about us. So that's the answer.
All right. Well, here is another interesting question, which I have my own thoughts about. It's from CT Guitar Guy 85. I have heard from contactees that they can or have been shown the past and view it, but they cannot alter it.
Right.
What is the panel's thoughts on this? I don't think I can alter the past. I don't know.
It's really very simple, actually. In 3D, it's 3 or 4, actually, which is time. It's very difficult to change the past. But there are several, quite a few actually now, scientific experiments that prove you can change the past.
Right.
So, quantum mechanics show that.
Right.
And the thing also is that once you start going into the quantum arena, outside of the physical existence, time does not work as it does here. You can attach the past, you can attach the future, because it is all there at the same time.
Right, exactly.
So now they can go back. And in fact, if you want to change something in the past, this is something that I talk about. It's not easy to understand, but you can actually change the past. But you're not changing this timeline, because this timeline is full of energy, and energy doesn't go away. So now if you go back and change, if you did something really stupid, let's say 3 years ago, and then you go back to 3.5 years before that, in your mind you rebuild the situation and you say, I will do a different decision this time, and you keep working on that. Chances are you create a new timeline that will avoid that stupid thing. So you can have a new timeline, and you may not even be able to remember that first timeline at all.
Yeah.
This is possible. It's proven by quantum mechanics. This can be done.
Yeah. ET took me when I was about 5 years old back in time to a member of my family in Sweden. And when they took me back, they explained to me that I can't touch anything or talk to, not really, don't enjoin. And I was so afraid to cause any trouble. I sat on my knees on a bench at a table, a picnic table, and it was a party. And they just wanted me to be sweet. The relative was going to paint us, draw drawings of us and do paintings. He was an artist. And the first thing it shook me was it was Sweden. And thank God I spoke Swedish. And I didn't get to keep my clothes. They took the clothes from me that they had supplied to me because it was from that time. They did give me a kerchief for my head that they made for me that I kept. I have it to this day. I was there for about 2 hours and I was shaking. I was so afraid to hurt time. As I got older, I kept asking the questions over and over. Explain this to me. How is this possible? Because I was taught that time disappears after we live through it, that it doesn't exist anymore. And how can I go back? And what I was taught is they take us out of time. We go into a different dimension, the fourth. It's very close to us in the third, and we're able to go bypass time through the fourth dimension, go back, but we're still interdimensional when we go back in. We're solid, you can see us, but if I was to try to touch something, lift it or whatever, I might not be able to hold it. My hand wouldn't, and I would scare everybody like I was a ghost. I looked solid, but I wasn't. And they told me to be very, very careful about that. So then I asked, as I got older, it really amazed me. What is time? Now you explain it to me. And the more heavy gravity you are, you're in the third dimension. This is a very heavy gravity dimension that we're in. And the only reason that you don't see out of it is because you're not using your full psychic abilities. But you can see the past and the future once you learn to see past that. ETs are capable of viewing the future as well as the past because Augie's correct. It's all the same thing all the time. It's a loop. It's infinite loop. Okay. If you affect the past, you run the danger of walking off. And I didn't understand what that meant because how can you, I said, do you die? And they said, no, you walk off. And I'm like, what does that mean? And it means is that it puts you in another place, a bubble of existence that you've created that now you're stuck in until you end it. It's not another timeline. It's a bubble of existence that only you created and you're there. And you keep working it because your karma needs to do something. You've actually walked off the third dimensional existence into this time bubble and you're not getting out until you end it for yourself. In other words, you come till you die and everything in it you've created with your own mind. I said, has this happened? Yes. I've been told multiple times, more times than we know this has happened because people have gone out dimensionally. That's why they're so careful when they do travel back in time because they're trying to teach us how you pay a price for it,
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw someone in here also said that ET told him that they will make themselves known right after the false flag.
Yeah, our grid's going to drop. Yeah, our grid worldwide.
President, would you bring that one up again because I like to comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can find it, but I do remember that comment.
I forget who it was, but I tell you, that is what I saw.
Right. I believe you. I know you saw that. Absolutely. Yeah.
I saw the false flag carried out.
Right.
That was the first one. The first wave of UFOs, they are not our friends.
No.
That's the bad, dark side of government.
Yeah.
But second one, they come in to clean up, and they are our friends.
Right. What's going to happen is our grid's going to go down. We're going to have a CME that drops every electrical thing on this planet 10 miles deep into the ground. We're going to go back to the Stone Age suddenly and without warning. It's going to be that bad.
Yeah, tools. There you go.
Yes. Once that happens, ET will be able to hit our minds hard at that time. They have a neural net around us now, and they're using machinery to block them transmitting to us. It's very difficult for us to hear them, although we can. If you have your ability, you can. But once that grid is down, everybody will hear them. And they will let us know simultaneously. Everybody on the planet is going to hear ET broadcast to them and saying, "We're on the way. Don't panic. Just keep it together till we get there. We're on our way." And they'll know. And you'll see it happen when they get here. They get here very fast. They're going to land everywhere on the planet. If there's a road, a bridge, a yard, a parking lot, anywhere, they'll all come down at one time. Massive numbers of them, massive. And they'll open the doors and say, "Let's go. You got to get out of here now. It's not safe." And we will go.
All right. We still have like 10 more questions and less than 10 minutes. So
A lot of people are worried about the future. Don't be worried about the future. It's
No.
going to be all right.
Yep.
We do that on Sundays. We have a mastermind group, and we have some phenomenal minds in there. We bend the laws of physics. What we create in our mind, yes, that's another book that I got.
Yeah.
But the mastermind, we create things out of there that should not happen according to physics, and we still do it. And
Yeah.
we have designed our future to be good. And from what I have seen in the future, it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. We got it going. And it's good to live in the very moment, like we were talking about earlier. You find joy in every second of your life. Find something to be joyful for. Be happy. It's okay. You're right.
Okay, I want to give a few more shout outs to the wonderful people who are donating with Super Chat. Thank you, Victoria Olson. Truly, truly appreciated. I am so honored. And I want to thank you, Tools, as well. 1 million views. I found that out when people started telling me. I didn't even know. I'm like, wow, that is amazing. I cannot even imagine.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Tools. Truly appreciated. And I want to give another shout out to Susanna M for $15 donation. And she does have a question as well. Can ET show themselves etherically, poking through the veil? Multiple faces were seen behind me on a Zoom call when it was dark behind me in actual time. I'm going to say yes, that does happen, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a picture of Talata. He was showing me himself in another life. And I showed it to Preston. I sent it to him. You can see him. It's ethereal, but it's him. You know, it's pretty cool.
Okay, I have nine more questions, so I wanted to get this done in 5 minutes because then we're going to have to start wrapping it up. So let's just rapid fire through these. Why are most people non-contactees even though they try? Asks Simon. I think we all are contactees.
Yeah.
That would be my short answer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that we've had to deal with for the last 100 years or better is that we have higher and higher amounts of gamma radiation coming through our magnetosphere because it's going down.
Just keep meditating and
Yeah.
you might get your answer.
Yeah, you don't want to hear it, huh? Okay.
Well, we have to go through this fast, Dolly. We
Okay.
don't have time. Okay, Brad Peanut's asking, Dolly, where did they go? I see wobbly lights at night. Where are the ETs? Where do they go off to?
They went to a part of the galaxy that is not in that electromagnetic field where they're safe. Literally, we have a giant galaxy, and that electromagnetic field is huge, massive, and it's already going through other galaxies, other planetary systems, all the way through our galaxy. We're not the only ones affected by it. And can you imagine how many people they're trying to help all at the same time? And the worse it gets, the harder it is for them to help. And now they're at the point where nobody is okay in the ribbon of energy, and they've backed away for it totally. They've already extracted a lot of people from situations like ours because they were ready to be extracted. I'm very frustrated about this because if we had been told the truth 100 years ago, we would have had 100 years to work this out for ourselves, to evolve, to know who ET was, to be using our abilities and already be gone with them. They couldn't take us in the condition we're in now. They can't.
We have to move on to the next because we've got still 6 more questions.
Okay.
Are there still those that have lived here for centuries still here? Yeah, I think there are still.
Most people reincarnate here, but there are new ones coming in.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, here is a question for Aage. What book would you suggest to learn hypnosis?
There are quite a few books out there that'll teach you how to do that. I would say yes. This. Oh boy. Oh boy. Huh, I'm disappearing here. I talk about it in there. It's fairly simple. And also, if you are in business or want to be in business or have a more successful family, you should read the one about how billionaires think. I've been very lucky. I've been able to associate with some of those. So.
All right. Okay, we just have a few more questions. Dolly, yes or no? Will they pick up our puppy? Oh, bless you.
Yes, you get to bring your dogs and your cats. If you have an animal and it's in your possession and you love it and it loves you, they go with you. Absolutely.
All right. Aage, what do you think about this one? What is the cause of deja vu?
I think there's several things. It could very well be that you are driving down a street in the town where you used to live in 300 years ago, or maybe, well, not that long, but before you were born. Or it could be that you are tuning in to if you sit there and thinking about where you're going, you could be tuning into it and get mental images that also project itself into thought.
Right.
All right. Well, we're pretty much going to have to wrap it up because we have like 3 minutes. So I want to give you, Aage, a chance to promote yourself or anything you want to share. I'll pull up your books here again. But anything you want to say? Any last messages?
Yeah, I would say just if you want to get a hold of me, just contact me through broadcastteamalpha.com or send me an email to aagenost@gmail.com. That will work also. And this work has changed people's lives. When you start thinking at a higher level of consciousness, everything in your life will change. You're going to end up with new friends. You're going to end up with better thinking. You're going to end up with more stuff if that's what you're interested in. Most people are. So that works too. And just go with it.
Absolutely.
Go within and ask yourself, is this for me? Start meditating. Meditation is the gate to higher consciousness.
Absolutely. Aage, thank you so much for coming. We got to do it again. Absolutely. And we need to correspond more, I think, and maybe we could do something together, Preston and I, and you and Nora. That would be cool. Okay. All right. Well, we were the Lightgate. Thank you all for coming to share tonight with us. We hope you all had an interesting time with us. Please, thank you very, very much for these wonderful offerings that you're making. I'm honored and humbled by it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I know Preston is too. We are coming to you live from the great city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 105.3 and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7. I would like to thank you all. Namaste and good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And